Hello. You know, The Sims 3 is an interesting game. It's a game I think has a very special place in a lot of people's hearts. I remember when I was a child, my neighbor once told me about the simulated family she was playing with on her computer. And she told me that the father of the family had been impregnated by an alien. And now she had to deal with some mutated alien baby. Goddamn. In this video, we will be performing the Rags to Riches challenge. We'll start off with $0 on an empty lot, and then we'll slowly work our way up to $1 million. That's right, we're going to become a millionaire using the ranch. The only way that Phil Doctor here is allowed to earn money in this challenge is by growing food and selling it, or a good old-fashioned, true-blood American child labor. So let's begin. Like all homeless people, Phil spawns in the local park and immediately starts looking for supplies that he can forage. Initially, to keep the hunkies at bay, he wanted to rob this local alchemist. But sadly, these plants are not harvestable. Instead, Phil sought a different source of nutrition. Sadly, as this isn't Fear Factor, Phil was not allowed to eat the butterflies, but instead he was able to sell them to his pocket store for a tasty $7. All great journeys start with a single step, but soon the rumblies did appear in his tummy, and Phil was able to satiate his hunger by stealing garlic from the local Albanian boy. As Phil is a hobo and laws don't apply to him, he helped himself to the rest of the vegetables in the garden, and ended up with a tasty 2 heads of iceberg lettuce and 4 cloves of garlic. That is a healthy breakfast right there. Oh, never mind, Phil is continuing his stealing ways and has stolen 5 extra apples and a slice of watermelon. Delicious. Ever the industrialist, Phil's eyes are set on the horizon. After planting the seeds of his future in his empty lot, he then decided to exercise the strategy of getting high on one's own supply, and ate a few of the apples instead of planting them. But this is good. So long as we can keep Phil's lustful hunger at bay, then we can just wait until these plants are grown, and then plant the fruits that they produce. And over time, we will end up with a beautiful garden. Like me, Phil suddenly started feeling the societal pressure that he should probably take a shower soon. And also he desperately needed a nap. So we're gonna have to find ourselves somewhere to sleep. Lucky for Phil, The Sims is a socialist utopia, and the local park contains all of the facilities that one needs to survive, including washing facilities and free bedding. I'm gonna be honest though, I have no idea where he's getting all this toothpaste from, and quite frankly, I'm not going to ask. Sadly, soon the inefficiency of mammalian cell structures decided to show its head, and Phil once again needed to eat. However, like a true Sigma male, he barged his way into this family picnic and helped himself to a few hot dogs. A man of high moral stature, Phil of course needed some dessert to wash down those hot dogs, and found himself not only stealing from humanity, but from the insect world as well. I later found out that this beeswax here is actually quite a valuable commodity, but in the interests of the challenge, I didn't think it fair. So Phil decided to trash this person's garden a little further. One of the lesser known biological needs in humans is that of the need of sociality, and so Phil decided to practice his devilish social witticisms with this local insurance salesman. His social need restored, Phil decided to call an Uber and head back home. However, as home was quite a dismal affair, Phil thought it prudent to use his celebrity skills to find himself a nice, comfortable place to sleep. In the morning, while vandalizing the local sink, Phil decided to practice his speech and develop some charisma skills, in the hopes of becoming a social sponge and finding someone to mooch off of. What's this? You don't know the Sims family well enough to abduct this child. After polishing off someone's unfinished bologna sandwich, Phil was privileged enough to meet some of the local Redditing community. Seriously though, these guys are very annoying. You'll see why in just a second. As the days and nights flew by and Phil's investments started to bear fruit, Phil suddenly began to realize that washing your hands to the bone is an ineffective way of removing one's gamer stench. However, to wash the comforting crust from one's body is to conform to the pressures of society, and Phil is no sheep. Also, if Phil sells his fruit now for something as frivolous as a bathtub, then that will cut into the compounding interest that the ranch will soon provide. That elaborate sequence of words I just said is my way of describing that Phil is now showering at the gym. Soon the profits of Phil's labors were high enough so that he could afford a simple pleasure, that of a comfortable bed. The decision to buy a bed was in no way related to the ongoing turf war between the squirrels and raccoons. A few days later, Phil learned why they hand out free deodorant at Comic-Con, as during the next full moon, his garden was besieged by green people. Why would you do this? And sadly, Phil was unable to revive all of his investments and urinated himself out of pure sadness. The untold destruction left behind by the Green Party led Phil to adopt some strong political opinions. Those damn green people trying to get in here steal Phil's turnips. Thanks to his increased border security policies, Phil was finally able to roast up a glizzy in peace. Eventually, Phil had harvested enough vegetables to complete a quest. A quest where we must meet a client under the cover of night to sell our vegetables. Ah, this must be the fellow now. What the heck? What the actual hell? This kid had almost $2 grand on him. That kid is definitely a drug dealer. Thanks to the suspicious cash, we're just got from that child, Phil was finally able to buy some furniture and design a starter home. Behold! That is affordable living right there. Now a respectable homeowner, the time has come for Phil to take part in his community and perform the forbidden jutsu of intersex socialization. Sadly though, Phil had never met a female before, and soon found out the social skills he developed from 2 seasons of high school DxD was insufficient to form a real human relationship. What is this impossible task? Have 2 friends? What the hell? And thus, Phil's search for a real-life anime waifu must continue elsewhere. As Phil's garden and his profits continue to grow, it became more and more important to keep parasitic organisms out of the garden. Parasites such as green people and BuzzFeed journalists. Thus, we must sadly cut into our profits a little and make this place a little bit more gated community, if you know what I'm saying. Swiggity swooty, Melinda, I'm here to steal more of your belongings. No, this time we're actually gonna buy some things. We're gonna develop our alchemy skills. You'll see why in just a second. Ever the tenacious fellow, Phil decided to try his hand at talking to girls again. Watch as he tries to woo this lady with talks of farming trowels and fresh produce. You will be my friend. Yes, she's very excited to see Phil Doctor. Now, the only real problem in Phil Doctor's life right now is that he doesn't really have enough time to be able to successfully manage his garden by himself. Thus, the adoption service is our savior. You see, one of Phil's greatest ambitions is to destroy the enemy of humanity. That's right, TikTok. A war that will be won with subterfuge. Phil must teach children the value of hard labor. For you see, a child working in the turnip mines simply has no time to browse TikTok. And thus, humanity will be saved. First things first, let's, make it so you're not allowed inside. There you go. Displaying his selfishness, this child here apparently wants to eat. Luckily for him, there's a few moldy apples on the tree the birds had only partially eaten. Oh no, it would appear that the children can garden mod that I have installed is turning him into some Slender Man creature. You know what they say, they grow up so fast. Now, where should such an orphan gardener creature reside? Underground. He has to earn his sunlight. Now we'll put in some nice warm concrete flooring for him. There you go, that is comfy. Our boy clearly yearns for the labors that make him a man. You know, I just realized it's dark down here. I haven't put any lights in. It's just pitch black. Listen, lights cost money, little child. You have to learn to work with your hands, instead of swiping with the thumbs. There appears to be a fairy in her underwear on my front lawn. Just an average day for Phil Doctor. What? Yeah, boy, standing outside is... Phil, you read that book, Phil Doctor. You enjoy that. You've earned it. Little guy can just stand outside in the cold. Here you go. Look at the stars for a minute. There you go, buddy. You got something to do. You got everything you need out here. Don't need to be coming inside and getting in the way of Phil's light reading.
Millie, it's in here again.
Now, the only real worry in Phil's mind right now, besides the Geneva Convention, is the fact that our finances are growing too slowly. As Warren Buffett once said, you can only obtain financial freedom if you earn money while you sleep. Now, of course, as part of this challenge, Phil can't personally increase his passive income, but that's not to say he can't build a nifty little sweatshop for the children. Now, it is at this point in Phil's life that he starts to ask himself the big questions. Questions like, what has 5 times the human rights violations of one ranch worker? That question is rhetorical, of course, because orphans aren't people. And so we managed to increase our passive income by having a bunch of children writing short stories. Stories such as, Where Are My Parents? Tales from the Ranch. The even story of ranch life. And who can forget the heartwarming children's book, The Loneliest Ranch Caterpillar. Now that Phil's income has more than quadrupled thanks to the Bitcoin mining operation, Phil starts to question what he should do with his excess cash. Should he perhaps give to the needy, become an altruist, or perhaps even donate to the social welfare system that he so relied on earlier in this challenge? Since Phil is not a communist, he instead elected to buy more land, by which he can milk the capitalist dream further. More land, of course, means more workers, so let's call the adoption agency here, in which we name this child, A new home means new opportunities, and so we decided to get some beekeeping thingies. And here we see Phil Doctor keeping bees. He's certainly beekeeping age. Oh dear. Just a quick outfit change and then back to the bees, yes. You've got to admire Phil's resilience. He just decided, that's quite enough of that, thank you. moving on. Now, it is going to take us a little while to move into the new place, considering that we have all of these plants to move, etc. And who is this woman walking around? I hope it's not an investigative journalist. But thanks to the beauty of editing, we can, of course, skip through all of the countless building code violations that we managed to achieve during the building of the second ranch. Now, you may be asking yourself the question, what happens when a child becomes too old to work on the ranch? Well, it's quite beautiful, really. They simply have their birthday and then migrate to a ranch out of state, literally glowing and hovering with the amount of happiness they've managed to accrue on the ranch. Teenagers cannot be allowed to live on the ranch. They have expended their usage. Brandy Crespo would like to know if Phil Doctor... Now is not the time, Brandy. Now is the time for us to finish migrating to the new and improved Ranch V2. This time, to avoid infections, the children are allowed to sleep under the stars. It's so beautiful. And it looks like we managed to finish construction on the second ranch just in time for everyone to have their birthday. A truly marvelous affair. Those 5 birthdays, of course, are completely unrelated to this random assortment of objects here. And, of course, if there happen to be any investigative journalists listening, I think they should instead worry about what happened to the last investigative journalist that was snooping around. Good luck. I'm sure you'll find them. Now, skipping ahead a few days, we can see that the new ranch is thriving. In order to maximize our profits, we've changed the crop we're growing to truffles, as these are worth quite a bit of money. And as you can see, the new workers are settling in nicely. I will say literally the only problem we're having right now with the farm is the fact that the workers spend an unsatisfactory amount of time not conscious. And we can't have that. So we'll use our alchemy lab here to craft a potion of invigoration. Quotations. And in this way, we've managed to achieve every capitalist's dream of a 24-hour workday. Phil is the best parent this generation could ask for. Oh god, there's so many ghosts. There's like 4 ghosts at the moment. What the heck? This child's gotten stuck behind the refrigerator. Oh my god, there's so much filth. It would appear the orphans have sabotaged the one cleaning utensil they have. Alright, Phil, for now we repair the dishwasher, and then the beatings will come later. What the hell's going on here? Right, man? The mailbox is right there. Oh, joyous day! We have another birthday upon us. Fantastic. Alright. Oh no. A terrible accident seems to have erupted. How could this have happened? Who saw this coming? Truly a tragedy. Let's speed this along here. Truly a tragedy. Oh my, it would appear she's been reduced to ashes. Let's clean this up. Let's just put this in the garbage where it belongs. As so in life, so in death. There you go. God damn, dude, we have 417 truffles. I'm gonna sell these. Woo! There we go. A few more payouts like that and I'm gonna have to buy Phil a monocle. Oh, hello, another birthday. Okay. Damn. Now, I will say, due to the bizarrely high likelihood of immolation at the ranch, the children seem to have formed some kind of conspiracy theory that ice cream will keep the Grim Reaper at bay. Having earned enough money to basically consider himself a god, Phil takes it upon himself to crush any semblance of resistance and make sure that they restrict their diet to invigoration potions and the apples deemed unfit for the farmer's market. Now, if there's one thing we've learned from the Industrial Revolution, it's that children, while plentiful, are prone to malfunction. And therefore, where possible, it is important to replace their labors with automation. Here we see Phil expertly upgrading this sprinkler with the careful bashes of a hammer. Now, we had a vacancy on the ranch, so welcome in our latest worker, Orphan John. Yes, a quick cuddle and then down to the truffle mines with you. Now, I was looking at this layout of beds here, and I was thinking there's got to be a more efficient way to use this space. And it turns out that The Sims 3 has bunk beds. Fantastic. And they're also made of cheaper and less comfortable materials than the ones before. So we've actually not spent any money here. And we even have the space to be able to put the workstations underneath the beds. This way, if a child becomes sick or injured, they can still continue to work. It's brilliant! In addition to this, while shopping for antibiotics the other day, Phil managed to find out these glow orbs actually sell for even more than truffles. The only thing to mention really is that they're incredibly poisonous. But that's fine, because Phil has gloves, and with the new bed system, the children don't have to stop working. Now I know what you're thinking, but Sneeve, the poor children. What if they're afraid of heights? Well then, I'm proud to say that they can choose to sleep in the motivation space. Now I'll admit, it is at this point in the run where things start to get quite samey, and we fall into a natural pattern of simply expanding the farm, replacing any workers that by their own free will decided to leave the ranch, and of course discussing the potential consequences of journalists asking too many questions. Watch as Phil swoons this journalist with his flirtatious ways, and cleverly makes certain that she observes him performing regular actions such as watering this tree, while a mutated child harvests truffles to the side. God damn it. You can see the suspicions just fading away from her mind. Now having as much money as a billionaire might consider a small loan, another question arises for Phil. Is there a way to monetize the children further? The answer is yes! Yes, there is. Another way that you can monetize your children is by having them finger paint on full-size easels. And so at the productive hour of 5 a.m., we can send this strapping young lad to his new position as head painter. You watch those values, Jimmy. Your food rations depend on it. Phil, soon to complete his dream of becoming one of the millionaire elite, starts to look back and reflect on how he got here. Those cold days eating bologna sandwiches in the park, and then showering with the grease monkeys at the gym. And Phil is also very thankful he doesn't have to hang out with dirty peasants anymore. Now, it's a few days later, and you may notice that the funds here haven't gone up at all. That's because once we had all of our necessary infrastructure installed, I thought it'd be satisfying if we just bulk sold all of our vegetables at the end, and that way we can get a nice big hit of some much-needed dopamine. As we draw to the conclusion of this challenge, Phil decided to celebrate by practicing some artistic skills. He decided to mark out his victory on canvas, in the style of a Venetian oil painting, a painting that he hopes will encapsulate all of the joy and happiness that the ranch has brought. A creation that will give us insight, a window into the mind of the creative visionary, the god among men, who created this haven, this utopia of learning, beauty, and missing journalists. Well, Phil, your audience awaits. Show us the grandiosity. Speaks for itself, really. On the eve of Phil's metamorphosis, he starts to reflect. He starts to think, maybe I haven't been the best father I could be. And he elects to change his ways. He starts by repairing the shower that's been broken for 2 weeks, and then was also going to repair this sink here, but sadly a flame ghost interrupted him because it wanted to take a bath. This did not deter Phil, however, and he made himself a promise. He promised himself, the second he returns from the farmer's market, he will make a better life for these children. He'll build them their own house, a place where they can actually attend school instead of being locked inside. A place where they don't have to work in the fields all day and can instead play, get educated, and be anything they want to be. And now it is time. Phil changes into his best formal wear and giddily skips off to the farmer's market, excited for the new chapter, excited for the new Phil. It's best to not question how a local farmer's market can give someone over 640,000 Simoleons in one easy payment, but The Sims is a beautiful game. So beautiful, in fact, that my game actually crashed here. Like, what the hell? I think you're not supposed to sell that many vegetables at once. The game isn't paused, it's just frozen, giving Phil a truly chilling stare of penance. Oh, there we go. It's moving again. And thus, Phil reads up on his options. A new man, a millionaire. What will he do? Where will he go? Unfortunately for Phil's plans, in a single disturbingly tragic and convenient event, some children, while preparing a celebration cake for Phil, had managed to start a confusingly intense fire. And suspiciously, while this was going on, another group of children had decided to take a late-night chamber swim. Yes, tragically, as Phil had stopped at Mickey D's on the way home, by the time he had returned to the ranch, he was once again a solo bachelor. Thankfully, due to Phil's undiagnosed sociopath disorder, he was able to look at the big picture. Phil had succeeded. He had accomplished the task that he'd set out to accomplish, had scrubbed clean the shower of society, and had managed to teach a few Gen Z kids about the value of staying off their cell phones. And to punctuate his point, Phil phases through this wall. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching. This was a lot of fun. Sims always seems to bring out the maniac inside, I will say. I've got to thank the patrons, of which we are getting a surprisingly high number of people donating to this bizarre channel. However, if you do want to support the channel, that is the best way to do it. And that way I can continue making more horrible videos like this, I suppose. Alright, well, I'm gonna go and think about what I've done.